If you've had an ACL injury, maybe you're going through physical therapy right now, or perhaps it's somewhere down the line, maybe you're months, years even removed from your ACL reconstruction rehab, but you're still having issues. You don't trust that knee. It feels weaker, unstable. Maybe you have some pain and discomfort still. This is going to be for you. We're going to be taking a deep dive into the biggest ACL rehab mistakes that continue to set you back and don't allow you to get to that full level of potential that I know you can get back to. This isn't going to be the classic clinical presentation where we're going through the phases of rehab. This is not for rehab professionals. This is for you that's struggling to get to that point that you want to be at and to address the things that are commonly missed. All right. So this is all about how to recover and get back to the court or in the gym at a high level, feeling confident, feeling good, pain free. Let's get it. We're going to go over a quick overview, understanding the ACL. We're going to spend like 2 seconds on this because I'm sure you know at this point, especially if you've had an ACL injury and you've gone through the doctor's appointments, the surgery itself, the rehab, all that, you're good there. Then we're getting into the nitty gritty, the good stuff, the common rehab mistakes, not the ones that you will likely think of. Then we're going to talk about regaining function and strength, but again, in a way that is a little bit more specific and helpful. And lastly, we're going to wrap up with what I call the guidance gap, what we don't get from our doctors, from the rehab professionals that we're seeing, and ultimately what we're not getting from the perspective of missing out on the tools, the knowledge, and the skills to be able to take care of ourselves for the long term. Let's get into it. Real quick, who am I? My name is Dr. Cole Housel. I'm a physical therapist. I'm a performance coach. I specialize in working with high level and recreational basketball players, as well as those that just like to train hard into their 20s, 30s, 40s, and beyond. But most importantly, the people that feel like they want to just hold on to their they want to be able to hold on to their athleticism for as long as they can without the wheels falling off. And as I get jazzed up here, I know I'm going to stumble over my words. I don't even care. We're just doing this live right now and we're going to get through it. So, my process, or my not even my process, my history with this is that I actually tore my ACL in a recreational basketball game going into my junior year or senior year of undergrad in college. Hop stepped in the lane, my knee buckled, and it was over from there. And then I was going down this, the path that we've all gone down is okay, get the MRI, shows it's torn, see your doctor, see a surgeon. They tell you to do surgery. You either get a patella tendon graft or a hamstring graft, most commonly in athletes. There's some other options out there, but these are the most common. And then you go through the rehab process and you have protocols and benchmarks that you have to hit to progress to the next state. But in my experience, through my PT, it was pretty lackluster. I got to a point where I was like, okay, but didn't really get to that over that hump where I was feeling super confident and not avoiding any setbacks or just pain or discomfort. So if you've had an ACL injury, you need to hear what we're about to get into, right? Like I said, I am a physical therapist myself now. Before I did the PT, I went through the process, I did all the protocols, but again, I just didn't trust my body at the end of it. It still affects me or had affected me in the gym, affected me on the court, and obviously took a toll on me mentally just because I couldn't actually do everything that I once could at that like carefree, free flowing flow state level that we all really like about the game of basketball. Or maybe it's just training in the gym for us. That ability to just kind of separate and lock in on the thing that's happening in a free flowing, beautiful way. So let's get into the reasons why rehab fails and what we actually need to be able to do differently. First and foremost, like I said, 30 seconds on this. What even is the ACL? It's a ligament that attaches from your femur to your tibia, your shin bone. It prevents forward translation excessively of your tibia, of your shin on your femur. It provides some stability, but it's really important in deceleration, directional changes. And when this thing tears, the whole system starts to go out of whack as a result. So a lot of rehab will initially focus on the area locally, which is obviously super important. But as rehab progresses, we need to make sure the whole system is recalibrating, working really well together in a way where your nervous system, which controls your movement, is feeling safe, it's feeling strong and capable. So, first and foremost, number one mistake is going to be rushing the process. So, I know we're not talking about a lot of the short term acute rehab stuff, but if you still have swelling in that joint and it's not getting out of that joint, we're not going to be able to get our full range of motion back. You're definitely going to have some pain and discomfort. And then the muscles around the knee, the quads, the hamstrings, especially the quads, aren't going to be able to fire. at the strength and the rate that they need to be able to fire to support that knee. So if we don't have swelling out, we can't even progress. So one of the common mistakes I see with that is swelling's not already out, is not out yet, and then people just start loading way too soon. Start loading way too soon, you have setbacks, you have inflammation, more swelling, and it's just a place that you don't want to be. So you got to let your body catch up. We got to get that swelling out. And if that step is being skipped, if your physical therapist isn't giving you enough tools to get that swelling out and you're just icing, do some self massage to get that flow out of there. And then you got to get some activation back in those quads and those hamstrings, get some pumping going in the muscles. Even if it's not a full intensity, it's a little uncomfortable. We got to get that fluid out of there. So that's number one. Number two, people just do really inefficient exercises. So beyond the initial low level of getting muscles firing and just getting things going, you'll find that you gain your strength back pretty quickly, especially in the hips. But so much time is spent here and not enough time is actually spent on developing the quads, the hamstrings, and the calves. If you spend a lot of time there, then the next piece of this that is commonly missed is like this full body coordination aspect. How are things working together? Because if your goal is basketball, if your goal is to train in the gym, do all your lifts that you want to do, play tennis, or just do whatever you want, your rehab ultimately needs to get to a point where it can actually reflect the thing that you want to get back to. And so, if you're doing something like basketball that requires a lot of fast twitch, change of direction, very tendon dominant, very coordination, high level of nervous system activity based, your rehab needs to be able to get you there. If you stop after you just kind of like are decent at balancing and doing some lunges and doing some squats, you're going to be chalked. You're going to be chalked. All right. And then it ends there. And then you're just left to just go back into things. And even if you just got progressing to running, progressing to jumping, you might not even be ready for that stuff. So it has to build progressively, but it also has to meet the qualities and the demands that you ultimately want to get back to. So we have to hit these benchmarks. If your training doesn't mimic the game situations or the activity situations that you're going to be in, you're simply underprepared. So we talk about these concepts, or I'll talk about these concepts in more depth in other videos, but things like co-contractions. So when you're sprinting, right, you're not thinking about what muscles to contract and engage. They're just happening automatically. So when you're running, your hamstrings, your quads, and your calves, muscles of your feet all need to be working together, coordinating in sequence, contracting together at the right rate, at the right frequency, at the right intensity and magnitude. If they're not, and that wiring, that coordination is not there, we're going to have problems. And ultimately, if we can't express this co-contractions, this coordination between the muscle groups when you're moving, things like running, things like plyometrics are just off the table for the time being until we get there. So we got to get those things working before we scale it up to higher level stuff. A lot of times you'll see someone get cleared to start running at the certain point in their protocol. They start running on a treadmill and then they start doing jumps. But if you were to just have them hop on a single leg, one side versus the other, typically you'll see that the ACL repaired side is really lagging behind. The coordination is not there, the trust not there, the knee doesn't like the bend, the strength isn't there, the co-contractions are not there, and it's just very stiff. It's very rigid. Where the other leg is kind of fluid. There's rhythm to it, right? So we got to make sure that we're hitting all these things, and before we progress to the higher level stuff, we have to hit these prerequisites. If we don't, we're going to set ourselves up for pain, potential injury down the line, maybe some swelling or discomfort. It's just something that, it just makes me a little bit upset because it's just something that's always overlooked, always missed here. So as I turn my phone onto the focus mode, because I'm getting mad notifications right now, we're going right into the third mistake, which is ignoring pain. I just talked about it a little bit. Pain is your nervous system simply waving a red flag saying, hey, something's going on here that we don't like. We want you to pay attention to this. Now, when you go through rehab, like I did, like you guys did likely, there's going to be some pain involved with that because the nervous system is very guarded. There's inflammation in the area. So things are going to be irritated. Now, if we're doing something that's pushing that pain beyond a certain threshold, so if this meter here that we see, green being 0 out of 10 pain, red being 10 out of 10 pain, if this meter is pushing towards this yellow to orange, that 6, 7, 8, and beyond out of 10 pain, we're probably doing too much that leg, that knee is not ready for. So if we just kind of keep pushing to that because of that no pain, no gain mindset, we're going to be setting ourselves up for setbacks, for frustration, and just a whole lot of headaches. We got to pay attention to what the nervous system is telling us. All right. So if we're operating between that 0 to 4 out of 10 range for the most part, especially early on, we're probably in an okay place. But especially down the line, if you're doing things in rehab that are causing you to really increase that pain that you're having, we're probably not ready for that. We're probably missing something, and we have to make sure that we're keying in on that. Real quick, before we go any further, I want to just let you guys know about this. I have a free guide. It's called your Reload Your Performance Guide. Kind of a cheesy, corny name, but essentially what this guide is going to tell you all about. It's going to help you learn how to rebuild your body in a smarter way. It's not specific to the knee, it's more specific to being able to take care of yourself for the long term. Identify what is the source of your pain, the chronic injury that you're having, and actually learn how to reverse engineer this process and get yourself out of this space that you're in. So you can copy and paste that link into your browser. It will pull up the ability to opt into this guide. You'll download the guide, you'll have it, and it's going to be super helpful for you. So, again, feel free to grab that if you wish. Moving right on, this is going to be a very busy slide as things load up here. So, this is really what your ACL rehab should focus on, especially when you get to this point where you're training, right? When I was talking about that strength and that function, this is what I'm talking about. It's a comprehensive approach that takes the full body, coordination, co-contractions, nervous system, strength, control, stability, all into the equation. So obviously, we need strength in the quads, the hamstrings, the glutes, the calves. We talked about this. I also talked about being able to control higher rates of force and change of direction. So we need to be able to land, absorb force, decelerate, stop on a dime, change direction, and ultimately hold those positions so we can balance there. If we don't train to both absorb and produce force, we're going to feel like all that stress is just going to the knee. It's like just hitting the gas really hard and then slamming on the brakes, and that force is just going to our knee, and we don't love that. So if we don't have those prerequisites there, the strength, the ability to get in and out of these positions, and then control things as well as push out of them, we're going to have a bad time. So we see here, we got some jumps going on, we got some control stuff going on, we got some local strengthening going on, we got some compound lifts, we got all the good stuff into the equation. All of this will have a space where it comes in, but ultimately, a comprehensive program is going to have elements of all these things so our body can trust itself again. So we can trust our body again, and we can get back to doing what we want to do without having to think about what the heck is going to happen to us and just being a little bit fearful and skittish. Finally, we get to the guidance gap. So, the biggest thing that I see here is a lot of people will want to rush back from their rehab, their ACL rehab, right? They'll get to like month 9 and be like, "Am I good? Am I cleared to go?" Sometimes you'll be cleared. Some other times they'll keep you a little bit longer, which I think is probably needed in most cases if you're looking at things from a long-term perspective. But even when you get through that 12 months of rehab in the clinic, I think the journey still ends way too soon because then you go back to your own devices. You don't have a plan in place. You don't have the tools to take care of yourself for the long term. And the cookie cutter, the printout sheets of exercise that you get from your PT to kind of keep yourself in good shape is hardly ever enough to keep you in a good position or prepare you to play basketball, play sports at a high level, or train in the gym, especially, like I said, if you want to feel good for the long term. So you need someone who's going to understand the game that you're playing, what your goals are, and really your body from a holistic sense. It doesn't have to be me. It can be anyone that you really trust that's a movement or healthcare professional, strength and conditioning coach, a really good physical therapist. It could be anyone, but it's really helpful to have someone in your corner that actually knows what the heck is going on and what needs to happen so you can keep doing what you want to do for as long as you want to. And then from a long term success perspective, if we want to avoid the chances of another injury happening, whether it's that ACL going again, another ligament, or if you had a patellar tendon graft, commonly jumper's knee, patellar tendonitis or tendinopathies are super common, or even hamstring tendonitis or tendinopathies, also incredibly common. We have to have this ongoing strength and movement prep within our program, right? So I just kind of talked about this. Ultimately, we have to learn how to self manage and keep progressing so that we can continue to play at the level that we want, train at the level that we want, not just surviving, spending 30 minutes before we play or work out, stretching, doing a bunch of nonsense, doing a bunch of hip activation, glute activation stuff We got to be able to do this for the long term. And so your plan has to reflect that. This visual here is more of a visual of what the path looks like if you're someone that's still dealing with recurrent issues or feel like you're plateaued. If you're not going through kind of a sequential process, even though there's typically some overlap here, and you're not hitting these markers, could be a recipe for a little bit of frustration. So make sure that if you don't already have this in, that you seek someone out that does, or watch some of my other videos where I talk about all of these concepts in more depth and more videos to come in which I do so. But that's it, guys. That's really it. Make sure that you're avoiding these mistakes. You're not pushing through pain. You're listening to your body. You're not spending your time on worthless exercises that don't move the needle for you anymore. That your program is comprehensive. You're able to express enough strength in the muscles that you need to. When you get into deep positions like deep lunge or knees over toes positions, your knee doesn't flare up and freak out. We have to be able to learn how to get in and out of those positions, control that, learn how to decelerate, absorb force, produce force, change direction, jump, high levels, all this stuff. We need to be able to do it. So, if this hit home, if you guys, found this valuable, hopefully you did. Hopefully I wasn't just rambling and ranting for the last 16 minutes here. I want you to like this video for me. It helps me out a lot, helps the channel grow so I can reach more people like you that care about this. Again, this is not just for the high school athlete, the college athlete. This is for someone that is in their 20s and beyond, their 30s, their 40s, and they're still looking for that edge. They love having that competitive athletic drive in them, and they want to hold on to that for as long as possible, but keep themselves feeling good, keep themselves in a good place for the long term. So, again, like this video, drop a comment down below if you have any questions about anything I said or anything about your specific situation, or maybe even just future content, what you want to see, how you want me to present information, what's helpful for you. Let me know. And also, if you could subscribe to this channel, again, it's going to help it grow. It's going to help pull more people into this community and help you out the best that I can. The more I can help you, the better I'm going to get, and the better collectively we're going to get. And the last thing I'll say is if you want something more specific to you and you want to just take some time to hash it out with me, you can book a free discovery call with me. Simply, we're going to talk about everything in your situation. We're going to go deep in depth. Once we get through that, I'm going to give you some clarity on what I think is going on based off where you're at. And if you want to hear more about how we would go about doing that, we can talk about what it looks like to work together. There's no pressure either way, no skin off my back. Again, I just want to help you out. So if you're interested in that, feel free to grab a time slot and we can dive into it. I'm also on Instagram. So if you want to check me out, I'm Cole Housel DPT on Instagram. And again, grab that free guide. But that is it. Those are the biggest mistakes I see in ACL rehab, not specific to what you're going to get in a textbook, right? Higher level stuff. Want to take care of yourself for the long term. Get after it now and in the future. Start implementing this stuff today. Stop wasting time. If you need more help, reach out to me, reach out to someone that you trust, because if you're still doing the same stuff over and over again and you've been doing it for a long time and you're kind of just like in a state of purgatory and you're not really getting that next level, or maybe you're facing setbacks or something tweaked, I encourage you to do some research, reach out to someone, reach out to me, and let's get after it. Let's get you back to where you want to be so you can take care of yourself, be where you want to be who you know you can be, and don't let this thing limit you because you don't need it to. And that's it. I'll talk to you in the next one. Hopefully, this was helpful.